Hi and welcome back. So we're going to try some on your own. Yeah, Brenna's still in the background listening to her music. So we're going to try some on your owns, and we're going to try -6 fifths divided by -1/2 and 1/3 divided by -2 and 2/3. That is a negative sign. Let's clean that up a little bit. So -2 and 2/3, and 1.8 times, well, times -5.1. So why don't you pause the video and try these on your own and see what you get. Hi and welcome back. So let's try these. So since we're dividing and they're fractions, you're going to keep it, you're going to change it to multiplication, and you're going to flip it. So we have -6 fifths times -2 over 1, because we kept it, changed it, and flipped it. So we take -6, sorry, and multiply it by, no, better be high. No, dog. -2. Looks like a funny looking mustache. Over 5 times 1. So -6 times a positive, -6 times a -2 is 12, positive, and 5 times 1 is still 5. So that gives us 12 fifths, and if we change that from an improper fraction to a mixed number, 5 goes into 12 twice. That gives us 10. So we have 2 left over, 5 and 2 and 2 fifths. And if we check the sign, it was a negative times a negative, which gives us a positive, and this is a positive result. Okay, let's move on to this. 1/3 times the -2 and 2/3. So we're going to keep it. And I was going to change it, but then I remembered that this is a mixed number, and we could really only multiply and divide improper fractions. So we're going to have to convert this. So 2 times 3 is 6, plus 2 is 8. So we end up with -8/3. So now we can keep it, change it to multiplication, and multiply the reciprocal, or flip it. And at this point, I am going to cross simplify, because I don't like multiplying to anything larger. So I know I can divide 3 and this 3 both by 3, and it gives me 1. So that gives me 1 times the -1 over 1 times 8, which will give me -1 over 8. So -1/8. And I'm going to check the negative. If I go back here to this, to the problem itself, it's a positive divided by a negative, which will give us a negative. Now I'm going to switch gears here a little bit, and we're going to talk about multiplying decimals. So we're going to say 1/8 multiplied by -5.1. So we're going to start multiplying. 1 times 18 is 18. This becomes 0. 5 times 8 is 40. So 0 there, carry the 4. 5 times 1 is 5. Plus 4 is 9, which will give me 918. And I count out the number of decimals, and I have 1, 2 decimals. I start at the right, go over 1, go over another, and I get -9.18. Again, let's verify that that's correct. This is negative, and it is because we have a positive times a negative. Okay, I've got 3 more for you to try, but let's clean this off and get a new board. So here's my new board. So I want you to try these 3. -6.3 times -0.6. And this says 3, -2/3 times 7 and 7/8 times 3 over 2. And the third one is -7.2 times 0.1 times a -100. Okay, pause the video and try these 3 and see what you get. Hi and welcome back. Let's see how you did. So we're going to take -3 negative 6.3, and we're going to multiply it by 0.6 negative. Well, 6 times 3 is 18, carry the 1. 6 times 6 is 36, 37, so 378. And this is a 0, so we know that's all going to end up being 0. So we count the number of decimal points, and it's 1, 2. Start over here, 1, 2. So we get 3.78. And we know that's positive because we multiplied a negative times a negative, and negative times a negative is a positive. All right, let's start with these guys. All right, let's see if we can move things around to make this a little bit easier. So I'm going to say negative 2/3, and I'm going to move the 3 halves so they're next to each other, because I am going to cross simplify before I start to multiply. So negative 2/3 times 3 halves, I can cross simplify before I even begin to start to multiply. So I have 2 here and here, and those can you can divide 2 into both of those, and that gives me 1. I have a 3 and a 3 here, and I can divide those by 3, which will give me 1 and a 1. So negative 1 over 1 times a 1 over 1 gives me negative 1. And when I multiply that by 7 and 7/8, well, we know negative 1 times anything from yesterday will give us a negative 7 and 7/8. I didn't even have to convert that into an improper fraction. That was kind of nice. All right, let's look at this here. So we have negative, oh dear, we have negative 7.2 times 0.1 times 100. All right, so let's think about how we're going to do this. Let's just start here. So negative 7.2, and we're going to multiply it by 0.1. Well, negative 7.2, oops, negative 7. So 1 times 72 is, it'd be lovely if I could actually erase that. There we go. So we count up the decimal places, and we have 2. So we end up with negative 0.72. We still have that negative 100 to multiply. Well, we know when we multiply anything by 100, you're really just moving the decimal places over 2. So since this was negative times a negative, it's going to end up being positive. So we end up with positive 72. So that's it for our lessons and our work for section 2.4.